Hey guys, Chicky Domain, Debut.com with a Debut.com surf forecast update. This forecast update effective around 8:30 a.m. on Tuesday, January 17th, 2017. And starts you off, guys, with a single satellite image and a look at the Atlantic. Point some things out to you here. We have a gale over here towards the right hand portion of your screen, another area of low pressure that is over southeast Canada, and another area of weak low pressure up in here up by the tip of Greenland. These three features, as we detailed in yesterday's text update on debut.com, these three features are going to combine into a storm over the next 48 to 96 hours up in here south of Greenland and get some northerly swell component coming out of the North Atlantic. The current player in all of this now is going to be this area of low pressure that's up over here towards the Great Lakes. This is forecast to slide into the Atlantic southeast of Cape Cod, somewhere right about in here as a developing gale. So we're going to have North Atlantic swell coming out of the North Atlantic at the same time as a gale developing right in here. This gale is forecast to slide off towards the east and then dissipate. And as we detailed in yesterday's update, the idea is that as this gale slides off towards the east, it will be able to grab some of this northerly swell that's coming out of the North Atlantic and wrap it into this and then push it this way. Now there are some negatives for East Coast surfers in this forecast. We'll show you that here in just a few moments, but wanted to switch you over to the latest swell model. And this is out of the NOAA's Ocean Prediction Center. And let me back this up just a second here. Now, this is prior to the storm developing. I want you to focus up in here south of Greenland. Okay, and as I advance the Model 1, you'll see how quickly this turns into some northerly swell. Now, this puts the general Atlantic in a northerly swell component with the majority of swell heading out here towards the East Atlantic like this. But then also I want you to notice as the gale begins to develop how the swell model responds to that. I'll advance the model one more and notice how now we have northeast ground swell in here at about 8 to 10 seconds. Nothing great, but look how the shading in here starts to get past the south of the Outer Banks. Let me back one up and then back forward again. And then actually, this is last week, so let me back that up. Sorry for the confusion, guys. So this is in 72 to 96 hours, a swell model showing some 8 to 10 second periods developing behind this gale, and you can see the northeast swell 13 to 15 seconds coming out of the North Atlantic. So again, the gale's going to be right in here, and then the North Atlantic swell is going to get up underneath this gale, and hopefully this gale will magnify the swell. Unclear at the moment how much may make it down into Florida, but guys, that's why we watch and you follow. Going to show it to you in the latest GFS model run. Now, this is current now, so here we go. Here's this area of low pressure we showed you in the satellite imagery, which is right here. And then there's that other area of low pressure, and then another weak area of low pressure south of Greenland. Switch you back to the model. Here it is here, south of Greenland, the one we just showed you, and then the one over southeast of Canada. And then here is to the left, this gale that's going to slide off. We'll advance the model for you now. This is going into 72 hours. And at 72 hours, we get the storm developing south of Greenland, and then now we get this gale developing. Advance the model a little bit more for you. And then this is going to be favorable, like we talked about in yesterday's update, more favorable for anybody that's heading out to the islands over the next 5 to 10 days with a northerly swell component. Size becoming the issue. We'll have to find out what kind of size, but this will probably create seas in excess of 20 feet and northerly swell component. So that's something that we'll be watching for, and we'll advance the model some more for you. You'll see how that slides up into the North Atlantic. And it looks like that's going to develop into a hurricane force low for the North Atlantic. So your flow is like this as far as wind is concerned. Out of the northwest, switching to west in here, and then wrapping this way. So it looks like this side of the Atlantic is going to get some strong west-northwest groundswell heading over towards the UK and over to Spain. We'll advance the model some more for you, because if you look back over to Florida, look what happens in here on Monday. We start to get into a strong southerly flow, and there's a possibility of heavy rains coming in out of this 994 millibar low that's developing over Tennessee. And so the southerly suck up behind that would pull up some moisture out of the Gulf of Mexico. There's possible heavy rains coming, so keep that in mind as well. And then this is at 150, guys. This is at about coming up on between 6 and 7 days. It looks like a strong southerly component is going to set up off the U.S. East Coast, turning us into negative swell production for the Western Atlantic waters. So we've got a quick shot of some possible surf coming, and then it looks like the pattern is going to go negative, guys. So whatever's coming, cross your fingers, get what you can, because if we advance the model for you some more, you'll see that high pressure starts to build in here southeast of Newfoundland. And then so rotation is clockwise like this. Southerly suck up behind this area of low pressure that's moving into the Great Lakes. This is all within side of 10 days, so model confidence is starting to increase. So it does not look like we'll get into a favorable pattern again until probably after the 1st of February. We'll bump this out to 10 days, and you'll notice that some low pressure now. That's the benefit of this. But look at this strong pressure gradient in here aimed at the East Atlantic up in here in the North Atlantic. But what that will do, in essence, will draw an area of low pressure up in here northeast of Puerto Rico again, just like we just saw with that gale last week that provided them with a solid bump, and that Azor low that we were forecasting over the beginning of January, right after the beginning of January. So we're going to switch you over to what it looks like in the wind model. This is starting off on Tuesday. We're going to go into Wednesday, and you can see that area of low pressure now starts to lift up here to the south tip of Greenland, and here comes this gale now developing southeast of the Cape. Going into Thursday, we start to get a northeast wrap now. This is where that idea that we said northerly ground squall coming in here, moving past Newfoundland, and then hopefully getting wrapped in here. Going into Friday, area of low pressure starts to slide off towards the east. Now here's Puerto Rico down in here, and so there's a strong northerly component. This is going to be winds here, probably 35 to 40 knots in here, or gust 35 to 40 knots. Advance into Saturday. So swell timing, swell distance travel time. Look, offshore winds setting up for East Florida and down in here towards the Outer Banks, guys. Again, not sure what the size of the swell is, but hopefully we'll keep our fingers crossed. We'll go into a buoy watch probably starting around Thursday, maybe Wednesday. So stay tuned for the updates on that. And then here comes this strong southerly suck up developing in the Gulf of Mexico. So Panhandle surfers, strong southerly flow now working in. And then you're going to be waiting for that shift to offshore winds if it happens. West Coast surfers, look at this strong west-northwest wind blowing in at West Florida. So that'll increase some surf for you guys as well. But here comes this strong southerly gradient setting up off the east coast of the United States. And that's going to be a swell killer, guys, for the majority of us. And then again, it does not look like the pattern. Again, here's this west wind and that southerly suck up. This may provide an additional bump coming into Puerto Rico as it starts to develop later on next week. That's all we got for you for now, guys. Stay tuned for the updates. Guys, if you're following us on social media, please try and like what you can on Facebook. It helps get our presence out there a little bit further. Follow us on Instagram and on our Twitter feeds. Stay tuned for the updates.